Mark here, Cooking Brooks, sharing information. There's something called that I want to talk about: deductive reasoning and inductive reasoning. Uh, Deductive reasoning, you observe and assess, you assess a statement and you hypothesize based off that statement. All right. So you arrive at certain conclusions by examining statements. You observe statements, you form hypotheses, and then you test those hypotheses to see how valid and how truthful those are, right? Deductive reasoning. And inductive reasoning is where you make an observation and you work backwards, right, to form a conclusion. So then you have different methods. You have the Socratic method, which is you continue to pry. You ask a question why. Then when you receive an answer, you question that answer, and you continue to ask why. You peel back the onion until you get to the real motive of a person's intent. Then you can do, the scientific method. There's a variety of methods of arriving at conclusions. And the point of this video is this: we ought to make sure that, when I remember when I was in a Bible seminary, and years ago in 2004, 2003, I was going to a Bible theological seminary, and my professor would always say that you ought to think things through thoroughly. Four T's: think things through thoroughly. And my, have I failed in that area? I've made so many mistakes since those times. But glory be to God, those mistakes have not cost me my life or or any others their lives. And so, you know, thinking things through thoroughly, it's your decision. How do you arrive at your conclusions for your life, right? How do you make certain decisions for your life? Uh, Sometimes you might feel stuck, right? You're indecisive. You might be vacillating between two opinions, right? Going back and forth, a gyration. Uh, but so this video is to really like to help to make us understand that when making decisions for our lives, we have to understand that all of our choices have consequences. And again, anything I see on these videos, I speak to myself first and foremost, because I'm just like everybody else, struggling, trying to find my way through this complex and very intricate thing we call life. And so when making our decisions, we have to make sure that we apply the four T's, think things through thoroughly, and also look at what's your decision making process, right? How do you process information, right? What steps, what activities, what series of thought do you take uh, before you make a decision, make a choice? And once you've gathered your thoughts, collect all your thoughts, this is vitally important. Execute the decision. Like don't procrastinate. Don't wait. Execute immediately. I mean, as soon as possible. Procrastination is the robber of profits. That's the same we say in my business, right? In Wall Street, we say procrastination is the robber of profits. Profits, money. So the longer you wait, the more money you're losing. That's practically what it means. So execute immediately once the decision has been reached. Be very decisive, very assertive, but our decision making processes, we definitely need to analyze, assess, and evaluate. How do we arrive at our decisions? How do we make conclusions? How do we reach where we are? And the reason why I shared this video real quick is because your thoughts create your reality. I've mentioned this before. Your thoughts are directly tied into the sea of energetic entities, a sea of energetic entities that we swim in. Yes, you and I are constantly swimming in a sea of energetic entities that's below or above our retinas, and the retina and the cones, to be specifically, the rods and the cones are responsible for giving the cone. I believe the cones is responsible for color, the rods is for black and white. But either way, it's the rods and the cones in our eyes that allow us to interpret and to collect light and send that to the occipital lobe in the back of the brain that process it and transmits those signals to the front of the brain, the frontal lobes, and then we have images, right? We perceive. But that's not really that important. What's important is that we understand that how we arrive at our conclusions. Check your database, your software, your files from, because your software is where you perceive what you perceive out in the, you pick up what you pick up in the physical world from your perception, right? Your sense, sense of sight. But once that information is brought in, that information is going to be mixed. It's going to be amalgamated with your software, which is your paradigm. Everyone has a paradigm, right? Your paradigm is just a pattern of thinking, your default thought pattern of thinking, your default beliefs. And once we gather and collect the data from the environment, from the outside world, it's internalized and mixed, right? It's amalgamated, right? There's a mixture going on, and we mix that with our paradigm, and then from that mixture we arrive at our conclusions, right? So our conclusions most oftenly are subjective, and a lot of times are not necessarily based on truth, because it's based on our paradigm. And again, your paradigm is just is constructed based off a series of experiences, whether those experiences are bad, indifferent, good. Those experiences are what's going to develop your paradigm, and then from your paradigm you're going to extract that information, mix it with whatever your perception is, and then you arrive at your conclusion. So you have the purpose of this is to make sure you're constantly assessing your paradigm, evaluating your paradigm, uh, validating your paradigm, because a lot of times our paradigms are not valid, right? The beliefs that we hold are not necessarily the truth or what's actually happening in your life, right? You could be in a situation where it becomes metastasized, exaggerated, hyperbolized based off your paradigm. It could, this is where people say you turn you make moth hills into mountains, right? You blow up, you see people blow up all the time, and then you find out sometimes the causation of why they blew up. You're like, wow, that's the result of a faulty malfunction in paradigm. So fix your paradigm, folks. Till next time, peace.